All right, everybody, good evening again. I know we're going to be hitting it with a rapid fire, but there was a lot of good stuff that happened today, and I want to go ahead and get this out while it's fresh, while it just happened, while people are still buzzing and talking about it. So, going to be doing some evening uploads tonight before we get on stream with Rebirth. By the way, if you're watching this video, I should be going live in the next 15 to 20 minutes. So, head on over to Twitch if you're not over there already. Should be live anytime now. But first, I want to talk about now the defensive tackles. So understand that for our purposes, a defensive tackle could be one of our defensive ends if we stay in this 3-4, or it could be the nose tackle. It really depends. And sometimes it's really hard to distinguish that. Sometimes there are going to be guys who look the part of a 3-4 end, but they can't actually do it. They need to be in a 4-3. That's something that we will have discussions on in the future. But I did want to talk about a handful of defensive tackles that I thought stood out positively or maybe a little bit negatively, in at least in some areas. I think that there was mostly good stuff from this crew. But here are the defensive tackles that I think made themselves some additional money and boosted their draft stock with their combine performance. Number one guy, I mean, this is easy. This is... no doubt about it, Braden Fisk had to have done the best work of any interior defensive lineman that I saw. Ran a 4.78 40, 33.5-inch vert. And remember, everything's relative. This is an interior defensive lineman. 9'9" broad, which was number one among all interior defensive linemen. The 1.68 10-yard split was third. He was a little undersized, I will grant you, at 292, but that's still a really good performance for Braden Fisk. That, I look at those numbers and I say, this guy is something special. This guy moves extremely well. He's fast. He's explosive. Lots of things to like about Braden Fisk in the interior. There's just one problem here, but unfortunately it's a big problem. 31-inch arms. That is third percentile. That is the third percentile historically for interior defensive linemen at the combine. So he's got T-Rex arms. He wishes he had T-Rex arms, maybe. Everything else was great, man. The jumps were great. The running was great. The 20-yard shuttle, awesome stuff. He's great. Everything about him, I love it. But, man, 31-inch arms, that's going to be a problem. So, definitely going to put a little bit of a ceiling there, but there's enough stuff to like to still say he's an intriguing draft prospect. All right, so the next guy, and this is a guy whose stock has been going crazy lately. This guy's found himself in the first round, in my opinion, kind of out of nowhere. In fact, he's often getting drafted higher than his teammate now. It's Byron Murphy. So Byron Murphy has really started to catch on. I've seen him in the first round. I've seen him in the first round to the Seahawks. He had a good combine as well. 4.87 40 for a guy who's almost 300 pounds, workable. 1.69 10-yard split, moves well. 33-inch vert is second for interior defensive linemen. So his explosiveness looks like it's there. The broad jump was just decent, 9 foot 3 inches, but totally fine. His arms are short, 32 and 3/8 inches, which is 22nd percentile. So another guy with short arms. A little bit of that going around at this combine, it feels like. But I don't think this did anything to hurt his stock. Now, personally, I don't really know if I could get behind the idea of taking this guy at 16. I don't know if I would be able to really circle the wagons well around that. I don't even think I'd do that for T'Vondre Sweat. I certainly don't think Byron Murphy deserves it either. I like both players, but to me, Byron Murphy is kind of getting... I don't know why he's getting pushed up the way that he is, right? Like, I don't know what happened since the season ended that suddenly has these people thinking he's a top 20 prospect. I don't know. I'm not feeling it to that degree. He's certainly good, but I'm trying to come away with something better at 16. I'll put it that way. Speaking of T'Vondre Sweat, he was another guy who was very interesting at the combine. And if you look at these results, they are very low. And if you compare them to other interior defensive linemen, you will see that they are some of the worst results. But they're not the worst results in a couple areas. I know the 5.27 40 looks bad. I know the 1.8 10-yard split looks bad. The 26-inch vertical is rough. The 8 foot 2-inch broad jump I mean, these are not good results under normal circumstances, but I'm going to tell you this right now. The guy looked good. The guy looked like a monster out there. 366 pounds. 366 pounds. That is a good 40 time for a guy that big. And he doesn't look like it either, really. It's good fat. It's not like, oh, I'm just obese. I'm not Boogie 2988 here. No, I'm T'Vondre Sweat. My girth looks good. So those times, those jumps, all good. Got decent arm length, 33 and a quarter. So yeah, T'Vondre Sweat continues to be kind of one of my favorite guys in this draft. Again, I'm not really into the whole idea of him being like a first rounder. That's a little much for me, but I honestly think I still like him a little more than Byron Murphy. Maybe it's because we have a little bit more of a need there, but I think I still like him more. All right, so next guy is Ruke Orhorhoro. Ruke Orhorhoro, we talked about him quite a bit during the season here. I thought he had a standout performance at the Combine, 4.8940 for a guy at 294 pounds. Nice. Not amazing, but workable. 167 10-yard split. That's actually solid. That's actually better than you would expect given that 40. Excuse me. 32-inch vert is okay, but the 9-foot 8-inch broad is really good. Second best among interior defensive linemen that I saw. And 34-inch arms are also going to earn him some credit here. That's 77th percentile. So he's definitely a guy who's working with some really nice physical attributes. He's a guy who offers enough speed and explosiveness to be effective at the next level. And he was kind of a guy that I thought was a little bit quiet and at times even disappointing during the college football season. So for Orhorhoro to have a good combine was important, and I think that he did. So he's somebody who's going to creep into the radar here in day 2. I don't even know if he can get up to round 2, but I do think he is probably going to get up to like round 3 now. And I like him. I like what he's doing here. Next guy is a guy that we as Seahawks fans really need to familiarize ourselves with because it just seems like destiny, right? Junior Colson seems like destiny. Chris Jenkins seems like destiny for a lot of the same reasons. And Chris Jenkins had a nice little combine that I think is only going to help his case. 4.9140, which is good for a guy who came in at pretty much exactly 300 pounds, 299. So good 40, good shuttle, 1.7. I'll take that for a guy who's a full three bills. 9'7" broad, 30-inch vertical jump. Those aren't great, but they're fine for a guy who's a full 3 bills. 34-inch arms, really good, 77th percentile. The only thing that he didn't test very well in was the 20-yard shuttle, so it seems like change of direction might not be great. But I think the explosiveness easily makes up for it. And when you combine that with his actual tape on the field, I think that Chris Jenkins is a guy that the Seahawks are eagerly going to target in that second round area if they can. And he's great. He's awesome. He's kind of fell by the wayside, I think, during the season because Michigan had so many good players. He just got lost in this wash, kind of. But he's really good. And he, I think, would fit in on this defense the same way Justin Madubuike fit in on the Mike McDonald Ravens defenses. So, yeah, good testing, good measurements. Just the 20-yard shuttle isn't great, but I think we can live with that. Final guy that I want to look at here is a guy who I got really turned on to as the season went on and started targeting him as kind of a late-round sleeper. But I got to say, it was not a great day for this guy, Justin Eboigbe. So Justin Eboigbe is an Alabama defensive tackle. Wasn't a hugely productive guy, wasn't a superstar, but he was solid. He came on strong as the season ended, and I thought did some really nice things for that Alabama defense. So I started kind of keeping an eye on him and monitoring him, and pretty much every game it felt like he was making plays. The testing today was not so great, though. He's sub 300, 3 pounds short, so the size is fine. The arm length is pretty good, 33 and 3/8. That's about average, I guess. That's workable. I can certainly live with that. It's a little bit better than average, I think. But for a guy who's sub 300 pounds, seeing a 5.18 40-yard dash and a 1.8 10-yard split, like, this guy is barely quicker than T'Vondre Sweat, and T'Vondre Sweat has like 70 pounds on him. So Eboigbe testing like this is not a great sign. 28-inch vertical jump is also pretty lackluster for a guy his size. So this didn't really do him any favors. He probably dinged him a little bit. He wasn't very productive in college, so he needed to be a little more of an athlete here, especially as a sub-3 bill guy. And I didn't see it. I just didn't really see it here. So Eboigbe, I think, drops down the rankings a little bit. But, yeah, those are my main takeaways from the interior defensive linemen at this combine thus far. This isn't all the data, but it's most of the data. It's all the data that I had when I was able to find time to compile this video. So let me know what you guys think down below. That's how I felt about this group. See you guys soon. And if you turn this video on right as it goes live, I am probably just about to go live on Twitch. So hopefully see you there tonight.